It was a chilly evening when I first met my husband. I still remember the warmth in his smile, the sincerity in his eyes, and the feeling that I have found someone to share my life with. Our love story started like many others, pure, simple, and full of hope. Over the years, we built a beautiful family with 2 children, a boy and a girl, who were the light of our lives. I thought we had it all: a stable home, love, and the promise of a lifetime together. Little did I know life had other plans for us. Our life took a drastic turn when my husband started falling ill. It started with minor complaints, fatigue, occasional aches, and then it escalated to severe pain that no medicine seemed to cure. We sought help from the best doctors, thanks to his wealthy family's resources. But when the diagnosis came in, it left us shattered. His kidneys were failing, and he needed a transplant immediately. It felt like the world was crumbling around me. How could this happen to him, to us? His family, always stoic and powerful, seemed vulnerable for the first time. And then the news came. I was a match. The doctors explained the risk to me, but they also explained the hope. Hope that I could save my husband. My own family, however, was against it. Let his family find a donor for him, they argued with me. They had the money and the influence. But I couldn't bear to see him suffer any longer. I was doing this for him, for our children, for our family, and for our future. The surgery was long and exhausting, but it was successful. When I woke up, the sight of my husband smiling weakly at me made every ache worth it. He held my hand and whispered, "Thank you. I owe you my life." In those moments, I believe in his gratitude. He showered me with affection, with gifts, and we even took family vacations, something we hadn't done in years. It felt like we had hit reset, and for 6 months, I was truly happy. I thought I had made the right decision. But then, I started feeling sick. It was nothing too serious at first, just fatigue, dizziness. But it grew worse. One day, I collapsed at home while my younger sister was visiting. She rushed me to the hospital, and they told me I hadn't recovered fully from the surgery. I needed rest, care, and more than anything, support. My sister called my husband repeatedly, but he didn't pick up. When he finally did, his words were cold. "I am busy." That day, he didn't come to see me at the hospital. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. Maybe he had an important meeting. Maybe he was stressed. I wasn't taking it serious until my younger sister passed a comment. "You see how he is treating you after you donated your kidney to him." I shut her up, but she continued, "You will shout at us when we tell you the truth. Why don't you pretend you are not well and see if he will truly love you as you tell us?" This got me thinking very deep. Deep down, my sister's words echoed in my mind. Was she right? Had I given too much of myself to someone who didn't value me? When I was discharged, I returned home to find him lounging on the couch. My husband was actually in the house when I got home. This man was relaxing on the couch, no concern, no question about my health. His excuses for not visiting were shallow, and when I pressed on, he became angry and stormed out. That was the beginning of the end. This letter got me thinking about what my little sister said, and I decided to do exactly what she had said. From that day, I acted weak. I pretended to still be unwell and very sick, just to see how he would react. And my worst fears were confirmed. He stopped caring entirely. Some nights, he didn't come home at all, and when he did, he was cold, distant, and always angry at me. He complains at every little thing that I do. It felt as though the man I had once loved so deeply had disappeared. Then came the day that would change everything. My husband came home with his family, and with them was a strange woman. I greeted them politely, though something felt off. My father-in-law cleared his throat and said, "Cynthia, you are very weak, and because of that, your husband has complained to us that you can't perform your wifely duties at night anymore. So we decided to ease your burden by finding you a co-wife." My heart sank. My mother-in-law added, "She will help you take care of the house, and she will make sure your husband's needs are met." I could barely breathe as they spoke. This wasn't help. This was a betrayal. They had replaced me so quickly. I, who had given my husband a part of me to save his life, was now being cast aside like an old broken tool. I stood up calmly, excused myself, and went to the bedroom. My mind raced with thought, with pain, with anger. How could they do this to me? How could he do this to me? I had sacrificed everything for him, and this was how he repaid me? Moments later, Amina and my mother-in-law entered the room, explaining that Amina would share the bedroom with my husband while I could move to the guest house. I smiled at them, but inside, something dark was brewing. I made a decision that day. I would take back what I had given. Slowly, I began mixing drugs into his food, drugs that would weaken him, that would lead him back to the same place he was before. I watched as his health deteriorated, just as mine had. His new wife could save him now, if she wanted to, but I was done. He was not the man I had married. He was a shadow of the man who had promised me everything and given me nothing. I will make sure that when his body finally fails him again, it won't just be his kidneys. I will make sure he loses his manhood too. After all, why should he live a full life when he had taken mine away from me? As the day passed, my husband's health began to deteriorate rapidly. The drugs I had been steeping into his food were doing their jobs. His body grew weak, and the vibrant, confident man he once was had turned into a shell of his former self. At first, his family was in denial. They believed it was just a relapse, that somehow his condition could be fixed with the right doctors. But this time, it was different. My husband became bedridden. His once powerful legs could no longer support him. His hands trembled, and the pain that had once been eased by my sacrifice turned with a vengeance. Amina, the co-wife they brought into my life as a replacement, started out strong. She cooked his meals, helped him bathe, and pretended to care. But as the weeks dragged on, the reality of her new life started to sink in. She was young, full of dreams and expectations of life, filled with luxury. But now, instead of living the life of a pampered wife, she was stuck caring for a sick, bedridden man, a man who could barely speak, let alone fulfill any of her desires. I watched as her patience wore thin. The care she once gave him out of duty slowly turned into resentment. She would leave him alone for hours, disappearing to meet with her friends, her laughter echoing through the halls as he lay helpless in the bedroom. I could see the fear in her eyes whenever she looked at him. Fear that this was her future, trapped in this house with a man who was wasting away. Then one day, she simply couldn't take it anymore. I came home to find the house early, quiet. I went to the bedroom and saw my husband lying there, as weak as ever. But there was no sign of Amina. I searched the house, but she was gone. She had run away, leaving no note, no explanation. The truth was, she didn't need to say anything. I knew what had happened. She had realized that she wasn't cut out for this life, that this wasn't the future she had envisioned for herself. So, she did what any selfish person would do. She left. When my husband's parents found out, they were devastated. Their plan had crumbled before their eyes. The new wife they had so proudly brought into our lives was gone. They begged me to help, to take care of him again, to give him the same attention I had once given when I saved his life. But I just smiled and said nothing. One quiet evening, after everything had fallen apart for my husband, I sat by his bedside, watching him struggle to breathe. His once powerful voice was now a faint whisper, his eyes filled with fear and regret. He knew something terrible was wrong. And so did his parents. They hovered around him. Their money and influence couldn't fix what was happening to their son. It was in that moment, with his parents watching, that I finally spoke the words I have been holding for so long. I am done, I said calmly. I am no longer going to care for him, and I want a divorce. The room went silent. His mother gasped, her face contouring with shock, while his father was frozen, unable to process what I had just said. My husband, too weak to move, could only stare at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. Cynthia, no, you can't do this, his mother cried, rushing towards me. Please, you have been his wife for years. He needs you now more than ever. You can't leave him like this. His father chimed in, his voice breaking. We will do anything. We were wrong, we admit it, but please, don't abandon him. He is still your husband. We will fix everything. Just don't leave, please. But their words didn't reach me. They were too late. I had given everything to this man, to this family, and they had discarded me when I needed them the most. They had brought another woman into our home. They had treated me like I was weak and replaceable. But I wasn't. I wasn't weak. I had taken back control of my life, and now I was ready to walk away. I am sorry, I said, though I didn't mean it. I gave him my kidney, and for that, he got a second chance to life. But I won't give him anything else. I am filing for divorce, and I am taking my children with me. It's over. His parents pleaded with me again, offering money, offering anything to make me stay. But I had no use for their wealth or their empty promises. I packed my things, gathered my children, and walked out of that house, leaving behind a man who had once meant everything to me. As I closed the door behind me, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had taken back my life, my dignity, and my power. I left them all to face the consequences of their actions. And as for my husband, if he survived the kidney failure, he would live with the rest of his life, knowing that no amount of money or influence could fix what was truly broken, his soul. Yes, I gave him life, and I have taken it back. This story serves as a cautionary tale about the power dynamics in relationships, the importance of reciprocity, and the consequences of selfishness and betrayal. Actions have consequences, and the way you treat others will eventually come back to you.